Yeah, have the cable for the car.
And I live in Kernersville the hard way.
Well, it just takes so much time. I've got a good girl.
Yep. When I was a kid,
Right at the just at that, at that point. The only one I've seen that somebody played around.
my older sister hosted a blessing. My older sister, I can't think of that one, but I used to. And those are supposed to be straight through? I said, yeah. I said, those are stamped panels. You have a good seat in there. Here comes a good one.
Chuck, you're really putting the 190 in front of this headlight.
This is a good, nice centerpiece. We'll let it. We'll get one line in front of
You know, everything's put up, so you can actually go in, the house and look in someone's bedroom. Don't look under the bed. We don't know what's there. But Stephen Yao, raise your hand, Stephen. At 10 o'clock, 10 minutes from now, if you would gather right in this area under the tent, Stephen would give you a walking tour, and you'll see everything. And I want to make Justine Milby. Where's Justine? Is she here? Okay. Okay. At 11:15. There's an optional excursion to Pollock Winery. At 2:50, there's an optional excursion to Monticello. Okay? And in your program, there is a schedule of these technical sessions, and you can kind of wind your way through the day.
We have a panel of experts who are going to talk about restoration, originality, what you do in between. Okay, and just so you know who's going to be talking about what, we have Tom Hansen from the Classic Center. He's going to be talking about restoration. Stand up, Tom, so everybody knows who you are. Okay? Any questions on restoration, we'll go to him. Gernald, stand up. Everybody knows Gernald, our favorite German. We will talk about originality. Okay? David Latham from Buzz Benz. We will talk about everything in between restoration and originality. And then we have Andy Pazza, who is a restorer, and he will also talk about in between, what he sees in between the restoration and originality areas. Okay?
Where do your parts come from? Do they come from Mercedes exclusively? Do they come?
For the most part, they come from Germany. Some filters and stuff are made in India or some other places in Europe. Some stuff's made in Poland, but everything's exported through Germany. The main warehouse is in Germersheim. It's 1.8 million square meters.
I just wanted to say we've got two here today from Tennessee that
hey guys,
on themselves
we need to talk.
Here to learn more about their cars.
Yeah, write these guys checks. We need them.
We actually
all right, thanks everybody.
Frame up on a 230 SL. Actually, just want to say this real quick. We tried to bring it here, didn't have an enclosed trailer, so hopefully one of the next events we'll be able to have it finished and bring it out. And
I wanted to speak a little bit today about originality and how we can keep the car more original. As you know, when we restore them, we take away originality because they're only original once. Keith knows Keith is one of the people I know that was after original cars, not restored. The 113 situation was that you could buy 80% of the car for a Mercedes new. And that has since largely diminished. Now, in the last 3 or 4 years, we're experiencing what the 190 people experienced 10, 15 years ago, that it's getting less and less and less. Now everybody scrambling around trying to restore the car. If you can't get a trunk mat, you cannot get sun visors, you cannot get certain things you need to make the car, at least presentable after a restoration, then you've got to ask yourself, how are you going to restore the car?
For you guys, you know us as the place where you can come, you can pick up parts, you can bring components to us. You can bring your engine, you can bring your rear axle, you can bring you can embellish your subframe, you can do, there's a multitude. You can send your convertible top to us. There's a lot of things. Your seats. and we can do those things and we can ship them back to you.
Yep. This is Joe. He's going to take you through what he's done at the previous pubs. Joe is the one who actually started the pub event. We'll get into that later this evening, and we'll describe all that. But you'll go with him if you like. He will be at a car, and he will take you all through all the things that he does when he gets a car and what he's done at the last pubs, and try to get you up to speed as to where you should be. Okay?
This system may seem very mundane and something that's just there on the car, but now the cars are soon 50 years old or more, and what will happen is that with age the system will fail. And it of course will fail at the worst possible moment, that is in a rainstorm.
That's right.
Because that's when you use the wipers. And if you end up in that situation, you cannot travel on because you can't see anything. So you'll be stuck. And if you're on the freeway, it's dangerous. So this is the assembly, and here you see a linkage, and this linkage should move back and forth. And in that situation, the arms are attached here. The windscreen is of course here. Will move back and forth with this linkage, and driven by motor. And the motor has a reduction gear inside. This is a circular motion only. To enable the back and forth movement, you have a crank.
Right.
And it's this part actually. So this is attached to here. And when it rotates, it will make back and forth movement with the arm here. That's that. And then we have the arms with the wiper assembly, blade assembly, and then we have the motor for washer motor, and that's about all of the systems of the system.
Yeah, that's the water.
Yeah. When you look at the arms coming out at the front of the screen and the wiper arms attached there, you have a sweep, and this sweep is actually supposed to start from a position where the motor stops automatically at one position, and it's also adjustable so that you can adjust where the arm stops and where it goes back and sweep, so to say. So how do you do that? Well, from this crank that I told you about, there is an arm, and this arm has a screw. You can go under by the glove compartment, exactly.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You go under there and look, and you will see something like figure 5 here. And you can then loosen this little screw and slide. You see there's an oblong hole there. Just slide that back to another position, and then you will have a slightly different sweep of the arm. So that's one tip. If we go to things that can fail, this is an electric motor, and it has brushes inside, and they of course wear with time, and then you have to disassemble and change the brushes. In this end there's a reduction gear, you see that in 3 and 4, and that's full of grease, and the grease of course is also 50 years old, so it starts to harden and become useless as a grease. So
now on the grease, would you use wheel bearing grease? What type of grease would you use?
Yeah, or you could use some kind of non-oil grease.
Oh, okay.
So
silicone grease.
You loosen the screws here.
Oh, okay.
And then you take this off, and you see the. If you look at the figure 3 here, you see 2 contacts. It's like little brass springs. And those springs, they work on a surface here in this cogwheel in figure 4. And that is what determines where the motor stops. After you press the button on the stalk, you have the sweep, and you turn it off, and the motor will not stop immediately. If it's pointing upwards, it will stop at the end. And that's determined by these springs and the contacts there. And what will happen is, when that's worn, it either will not stop at all, or it will stop in the wrong position, or
in the middle of the windshield.
Yes, or fail in some kind of way. So that's a good thing to look at when you open up that. And also the surface where those springs work, you should polish.
Now those, are those workable, or those need to be cleaned up?
Cleaned up, yes. Failure is these shafts that we have here. They are inside here. It's this shaft. And this is a very long bearing surface inside this tube. And after 50 years, this will corrode. And there will be rust or other corrosion here. And
what do you do, WD-40?
I'm coming to that.
Oh.
So what the real danger is that they seize. And when they seize, it's
too late.
Of course, the motor is quite strong.
Right.
So it will work a long time against the resistance of the corrosion. But once it seizes, it's a really tight situation. You cannot free it just by moving it by hand or anything like that. So what will happen is that you go to a workshop, they will tear down the whole of the dash, and they will get a sledgehammer and they will hit here to remove the shaft here.
Okay.
So it's not a simple repair. Very expensive, very much work, and troublesome. So we want to avoid that.
Yeah.
And how do we do that?
I don't know, you tell me.
Lubrication, exactly. Good. And what we then do is to remove the arm, and on the arm there's this cap. So we take that off.
This, yeah.
And what I do, there's a nut.
Put it on a thing like that so you don't lose them.
Yeah. So there's a nut there, and you remove that. And there's a washer, and also a rubber washer against the bodywork. So you remove. You don't have to remove this nut, by the way. You can just remove the cap.
Yeah.
And then you take hose, and I think this is about ½ an inch or maybe 15 millimeters or something. Inner diameter on the hose, and you cut a short piece of that hose, and you put it on there, and then you drop some oil, because this is a bit of an angle. You put the hose on, and you put some oil inside, and you let that sit for overnight or something, and run the system a couple of times so that the oil will work itself down.
Oh, smart.
And that's just ordinary engine oil or whatever. PD40, I would not suggest that. Just ordinary oil.
That evaporates, that's why.
Yes.
Statements going back to that solid state again. The other point again, if you're not paying attention to it, it'll suddenly hit the ground because you went past that plastic state, and there it is. So again, you're going to be working between the area between solid and liquid. Again, I'm not really forcing the heat on it. See, right now, even with my heat on there, I'm not really getting anywhere. I've got to have to sit there and then ease all that back up to a plastic state. It's still not there. It's getting there. It's getting soft. As well as I'm going to want to get that base metal hot enough that I know it's sticking to my tinning solution as well. I was mentioning earlier that I could just about make a sculpture out of it and it'll hold to whatever shape I want to create. So I'm going to go ahead and just make some kind of an aggravated peak. Now, again, if I'm sitting here and I'm playing with different shapes I want to create, we were talking about the body shape on the edge of on the headlight buckets on the 113. Okay, one level, one side of it is convex, and the other side is concave.
And it's almost a two-man job, but it's a canister and a bolt in the top. You undo the bolt, the canister comes down, and filters inside of it. They're still available from Mercedes. They're only about $7 each, and we like change those every major tune-up that might be 15,000 miles. So if that's checked and your tank's good, you should have a good fuel supply.
The best way to do it is to just ship it in, have it looked at. Is it worth doing? Does it need any repair? And these brackets break off with the big springs. The assist spring is hooked in. And most 70 and 71 tops are simply challenged.
Right up to the chassis, right to the frame.
What I've been doing is jacking on the rear and here, and then putting a jack stand and sneaking in here.
It's safe to put stands there too, or you can lift directly under a differdifferential.
Because I don't like the axles hanging down. You know, they hang down so low. So I've been jacking it here and then putting the sneaking a stand in there. Okay.
Now. Cars
right there.
Yeah. Okay. It goes right up to the frame member, right to the chassis.
I'm always afraid that if you do it wrong one time, you're done. Yeah. That's what always scared me. So.
Now, the new cars they like to put right at the jack points, but these aren't reinforced
on the seam. On the seam,
This is just sheet metal up here.
Yeah, that's not. That's soft as a piece of bread.
Someone
lifted mine and
of course, the first thing everyone's concerned about, and it's hard to stop all the leaks on these old cars, or the leaks. And the important thing is to identify what it is, and then sort of figure out what is the most serious and what you have to deal with. You could have oil, you could have coolant, you could have steering leaking, you could have your transmission leaking, and rear differential leaking. So. You have bearing grease leaking out of the hubs, and you have brake fluid leaking. So you sort of have to figure out what it is, and then address the problem one at a time. If you got a lot of leaks, the most important ones for maybe the front oil seal on an engine. If you've never had any engine work and the car's got a lot of miles on it, you might get a little bit leaking there, especially when the car's in storage. And then if you take it out and drive it a little bit, sometimes it'll almost go away. It's just the seal's old and dried out, but you're probably not really losing a lot of fluid. A little bit of fluid makes a big mess. So if you find out what it is, you can sort of determine. Okay. Now the next thing everyone knows about the oil. You fill it from the top and you drain it from the plug here. Depending on your car, you may have a 14 millimeter Allen plug. It could be a 14 millimeter hex with the head sticking out. The newest pan has a 13 millimeter smaller plug with a 13mm head. So depending if some work's been done to your engine. The latest pan was a little deeper, it holded a little more oil. It was ribbed on the bottom, and the plug was different. So if you got that, it's the latest and greatest oil pan. Now, depending on what your car's got, the amount of oil it takes might vary a little bit. I think the 230s were around 6 quarts and 280s around 7. If you have the latest oil pan, it may hold 7.5. It's actually 1/2 inch deeper. So that part may vary a little bit. Now is everyone aware of the problem with the oil filter canister? Did everybody know about the top housing seal?
Yeah, the seals. Yeah.
Okay.
We did that yesterday.
That's on top of the oil filter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the O-ring on top of it?
Oh, there's the O-ring, and then there's a collar that goes
like a half-inch, quarter-half-inch
inside the housing that filter's got a seal against, and they're gone a lot of times because when you drain, the oil falls off and they don't know to replace them, and your oil not getting filtered.
Yeah. Taking a bath, it's not filtered.
I had some sheets yesterday with all the numbers on them. They disappeared immediately. So.
Was that
I don't even have one to show you.
Was that the handout that you did with the new owners?
Yeah. It goes snugs on this neck right here.
Oh, on the outside.
Yeah.
I thought it went inside. Okay.
What happens when they're new, they're nice and tight and spongy, and when after years they get hard, and one day someone changes the oil and it falls out in the drain pan and it goes out and never seen again. Typical.
Okay.
But it just helps you from getting a little nuisance leak. It seals around the bolt.
And it holds the bolt in when you undo it.
The other end doesn't slide out and drop on you.
And I think the sedans was the same.
Piece that goes bottoms out real nice. If you got 2 rings in it, it pulls it. It's like this. And if you tighten it up anymore, there's a good chance you're going to split the canister. And that doesn't always happen right away. You could be riding down the road and it goes pop, and then you're bleeding oil all over the road. So if you look under the hood of your car and you see a gap like that, it's probably got 2 upper rings in it. Okay. Somebody here has that situation. I guarantee it's more than just one, too. On the 280s, you have that oil cooler also. Right here. So if you want to do a complete oil change, you pull this plug
and drain it up
too. Boot. And it's just a rubber boot where that rear axle hinges. If it's never been changed, just think it's 40 or 50 years old. The rubber's getting hard, and it's been working all those years. Okay. And then if you have an early car, there's also one on idler arm. This is called idler arm here. It will have a greased nipple.
What do you call early? How early? All 230s or?
Yeah, I think all 230s.
Yeah. I think mine has. I thought mine has. Mine's a pretty late.
So the position of the 7 are on the top of the kingpin. That vertical thing is the kingpin. Top of the kingpin, middle of the kingpin, and the bottom of the kingpin.
Well, up top there's there. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You may have to access it from the front. The easiest thing to do if you're going to do it yourself, take the wheels off. And
so you're saying 3 there and
okay, 3 on the
kingpin, right?
Okay, now your A-arm has 1 here, 1 there, and on the top it's got 1 there and 1 there. So that's total 7. They need to be replaced. You'll get all kind of weird noises.
So if that's
those need to be replaced. They're not touching yet, but they're getting close.
I got you. Okay, I know how to check that. Yeah.
Same thing here.
Okay. Yeah.
Eventually you'll get metal to metal under movement first, and you'll start getting strange noises.
And that
never had to replace those. Now they're all going bad.
And that's called the trailing arm mount. They call it.
Okay. Then you got trailing arm mounts in the rear. Never had to replace those. Now we're running across those that are going bad.
That's like a bushing there, I guess.
That's a little more work because these things get stuck in.
Yeah. Okay.
So if they're squished
you'll see them get way off center when these go bad, and eventually you get metal contact there.
So they get squished out.
Yeah. And Gerdald was complaining. He said the ones I got from Mercedes are not. It's hard and they're bad. The last thing that we're seeing go bad now, there's a rubber bushing. I call it a horizontal sleeve. And there's a metal sleeve, and there's rubber inside, and you can see it's extruding out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and he's got metal-to-metal contact. Usually there's a space, so he's getting probably some noise.
By the trunk, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can unhook it and have jack under the rear end, lower the jack down. That'll sort of loosen it up, and raise it again, and it'll just
And that's
come
like
right.
an upper snubber of this thing.
Be careful how it's oriented, because it's got to be oriented one direction.
So its purpose is to stop this when it goes up. Is that what it is?
Well, just that pin that's the mounting, it's isolated in a rubber.
Okay.
When the rubber goes bad, you're getting metal.
Doesn't need fuel. Okay, I'm on the stop now. Just before I got to the stop, it crapped out. So it's still not getting enough fuel.
And I take it back and go on yours. Find someone with a light. It is.
So that's working.
Yeah.
Good out, Joe. Well done.
Was it close? Close. Turn it off.
If we suggest it be too rich, then we name it.
Let's check the timing.
It's like a dance.
You want it to hook back up? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is still a little sloppy. Okay, put it on there. Okay, it's on. I bet it's sealing enough. Compensate for that slop right here. You can see it move right in there. It's just going up and down.
199,034 miles.
One way to find out if you're looking for a name. To put it in? Yeah, it's original. Yeah, I'm not forced to say garage floor. We did that as well. Put out here. Yeah, we could have done it. We did that at the last.
Bye-bye.